Hello everyone, it's Dutch Reefer here, and welcome to this Focus Friday update. As you may have noticed, it has already been a while again since I've uploaded my last video, and there's good reason for that. The fact is that my tank has not been doing very well over the past few months. As you have probably already seen in my previous videos, if you've watched them, I'm struggling with a lot of instability in the tank, which mainly affects my corals. So luckily my fish are still doing fine. They seem healthy. They don't show any signs of illness, so that's great. But the corals have been struggling quite a lot. And so over the past few weeks or months, I've been trying to see what's wrong, where this instability comes from. Already tried a couple of things to fix this, and I re-escaped my tank. That might have influenced it as well. Of course, moving around rocks in your aquarium will stir up all kinds of dirt, which will cause more instability. So especially my phosphates and nitrates have been spiking. I have been dosing vodka and vinegar, a mix of 50-50, for a few, actually I think for the last year. So also in the previous tank I was doing that, which I changed, so I'll show you that in a minute. I've sent an ICP OES test to ATI a couple of days ago, so let's see what that shows. But overall, I'm very curious to see what's causing this instability, and well, mainly some of my SPS corals have died, which is a shame. I'll show you a couple in a minute. For example, this once beautiful green Montipora. It's green again, but now it's covered with it's a skeleton covered with algae. So I'll remove it from the tank in due time. Luckily, my Gorgonians, my LPS are pulling through quite well. Even this leather toadstool has been showing signs of recovery for the past few days. So all in all, I'm still hopeful. I have been thinking about what to do for quite a few weeks. It crossed my mind to quit, but I won't give up yet. Let's first see what the ICP OES test comes up with. Perhaps it's kind of it's a heavy metal that's interfering with the tank stability. Perhaps it's a deficit of something. Well, I'll need to find out. I cannot find out myself, other than high nitrates and phosphates. So we'll have to see whatever the test shows, and then continue from there. Mainly the fact that my fish have been doing all right. Have pulled me through the last few months, since my fish are very well. I like them a lot, so it would be a shame if something happened to them based on the health of the tank. So yeah, it's a shame that a lot of corals have perished, but corals are more easily replaceable than fish, in my opinion. Of course, you might think differently. But that's my opinion, and yeah, let's hope that the tank pulls through. I've had rough patches before, but I have to say this is the biggest rough patch I've had in my reefing career, which is now about 5.5 years. So yeah, it's quite it's quite a struggle to get everything back to normal, especially with such a big tank. Whenever you're doing water changes, you have to do quite a lot at once, which of course is also quite labor. You have to put in a lot of labor to do a 20% water change, for example. Would mean I have to change about 300 liters of water, which is well, that's quite some work. Making the water, mixing it with salt, removing the old water, putting in the new water, which is fine if it's needed, but still requires a lot more effort than if, for example, you have a 200 liter tank and you want to replace 50% of your water. You only have to make 100 liters, which is well, a lot easier. So all in all, I've been showing you on the video some of the tank for the past 5 minutes. You can see there's quite some damage on various corals. I've shown you the Montipora, for example this Stylophora as well. The right side has completely died. I've chosen not to frag it. It's whenever you're having repetitio necrosis, one option is to frag the coral and hope that the remaining part survives. But I've tried that, for example, with this Montipora, this Acropora, Millepora right here, and now it's this is all that remains. It's just the skeleton, which is a shame, of course, because this was a very nice Millepora, which was on the top of my reef. But yeah, it perished as well. So, as you might understand, that's quite a bummer, especially when you've grown these corals over a couple of years. You've seen them grow, you've seen them struggle, and at a certain moment you see them die, and it's quite something to see happen in your tank without really a clue what to do. So yeah, but again, I'm hopeful. I've sent in the ATI test. I've been doing some testing myself, of course, and I have been changing a couple of things hopefully for the better. So to show you what I've been up to, here's some products that I used to get rid of the phosphates. So Antilabs were kind enough to send me over this bottle of anti-phos, which is already empty. It contains lathane chloride, lathanum chloride, which is a substance that binds phosphates very actively. So I saw that it worked, I tested that it worked, but I needed a lot more. So I found a product that was a little bit more concentrated recently at my local fish store, which is called Phosphate RX by Bluevet RX, and it contains the same substance, so lathanum chloride. You only have to dose a couple of drops. So as you can see, the bottle is still pretty full, and I've been using it for a while now, since you only have to do a couple of drops near your skimmer for the phosphates to bind and to remove the phosphates from your tank. So that has actually worked. So combining, first using this, then when it was empty, bought this, it has brought my phosphates down from over 0.6 to 0.2 at the moment. So I've already overcame quite a big leap there. Of course, not all at the same time. So you have to time it for your corals not to get into a kind of shock and die anyway. So it's recommended not to lower your phosphates over 0.1 in every 24 hours, or even less if it's possible. Other than that, I've switched out my vodka vinegar mix for a honey vinegar mix. This was a tip that I got from a couple of fellow reefers from the Netherlands. Apparently it has been used before. One, to lower your phosphates and nitrates combined, and two, to remove some cyanoalgae from the tank. You will have already seen, if you're watching this video and been paying attention, that I've had quite some issues with that in the tank. So instead of choosing a more rigorous approach, like using, for example, a product that removes cyano, which I already bought, which is, which is Cyano RX. You can see right here. But that's quite aggressive, and it requires you to do a big water change afterwards of at least 25%. So I want to keep this as a last measure, last resort, before doing something that rigorous. So for now, I've chosen to do a vinegar honey mix. What I do is I use the honey, I squeeze about 1-2 tablespoons in one of these bottles, then mix it it gets a little cloudy, that means that the honey is mixed, and then use that, dosing that into the tank. Let's see if it works. Of course, honey is similar to sugar, is a carbon source, so it's no real surprise that it will actively bind phosphates and nitrates to that. Yeah, very curious to see if this works. And yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that it does. So I've been only dosing that for a day or two, so what I can say is that it isn't causing any direct issues, but we'll have to see over time what the effect is of dosing honey into the tank. If you're going to use honey, be sure to choose honey that's as raw as possible. It's best to get it directly at the source, so I've chosen a biological flower honey, which is recommended if you don't live near a beekeeper. So that's it for today. Not a very positive video, at least not a very positive period it has been. So I hope that the tank will recover soon. I'm trying to do everything I can to get it that way, to have it recover, because of course having a nice, healthy and thriving tank is what you want in this hobby. It's a shame to see everything deteriorating and seeing corals die. But I'm hopeful. I'll share the outcomes of the ATI test hopefully next week with you. Let's go through them in more detail. I think that's a good idea, which also will give you a general idea of how one of these tests work if you haven't done one before. And let's see what I can do with these results and get my tank back in good health. So for now, thanks for watching. I do hope you still enjoyed the video, although it was a little bit more of a analysis video. And I'll see you in the next one. So for now, have a great weekend, and bye bye.